we have a problem.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host, Vikka Draziv, guys. Welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe. And yes, today we are just broadcasting on two places. We can't today on Facebook. Some issue with the StreamYard. So the next place we are doing is on rts.video, realtruthseekers.com is one of our main sponsors for Heliopsychosis podcast. And before we jump into our podcast today and with our panelists, just wanted to comment that for the next few weeks, we're going to be taking a break with our podcast, mostly because it's a festival season here, also where I am, and for sure where our panelists are too. And even the Christmas, New Year's are also falling almost on Sundays and the weekend. So we want to take a break for that, for the people to have their time, whatever they do, they celebrate with their family or friends, So our next podcast is going to be from January, first week of January, right? Just that our viewers know that. So everybody can have a break and we come back with more energy and more power. So that being said, let's jump in with our panelist, my co-host, Genie Edited. How are you, Genie, brother?
Vikka, what's up, bro? I'm doing terrific today. We got a little snow in New York, just not even an inch, maybe an inch. It's kind of nice. It's chilly. It's it's on the way, so you gotta embrace it, right? Yep. So I hope everybody had a good week, and thanks for being here and having the show, Vikka. Thanks for having us all. This has been a really, really cool series for me, in particular, and Egypt is going to be not too much different and very similar and very different. So it's both best of both worlds in a lot of these stories. I guess part of what becomes the big curiosity is the timeline for real, when this really happened. But no, great topic, and this series has been really great, brother. And welcome everybody. I hope you've been enjoying it as much as I have. And sit down, buckle up. We're going for a ride, guys.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. And this series, as we were speaking about, this series is for anybody to go back to whenever they need, because everybody speaks about cosmologies and all cosmology reflects flat Earth. But if the people want to know in detail for every cosmology, they can come back and check and have a look each individually according to their interest, and could help for this information to roll in the future. So I think we're doing a great job with this series of cosmology, and quite interesting and amazing. So awesome,
Yeah,
brother.
definitely. Thank you. Very cool. It is a great reference point. It really, really is.
Oh yeah, bro. And our next panelist is you all know him too, Keith. How are you, Keith?
Hey, Vikka, doing real good. I'll just, reiterate what Gene said. It's been a great series to focus on all the ancient cosmologies and realize the similarities among all the different cultures throughout history. Whatever that history actually is, I don't know. But the fact that every ancient cosmology shows the Earth as an enclosed system with a flat stationary realm in the center, that should speak to anybody who can think independently, even a little bit, should be able to scratch their heads. So why are we thinking their Earth is a globe, and why is NASA promoting all this stuff? If every ancient cosmology that we have in recorded history is showing the Earth as an enclosed system and a flat stationary plane in the middle, it should make any reasonable person really start questioning things a little bit. And hopefully that's what we've done with people who have been listening to the podcast the last 7 or 8 weeks. But I've enjoyed it very much.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. You want to comment something about your TED talk today that you did, kind of?
Yeah, well, it wasn't an actual TED talk. I was at a permaculture event on the west coast of Florida, pretty much. It was all camping. I mean, there was a couple of RVs there. I had my RV. Most everybody was tent camping. There was about 240 campers registered, plus all the staff that was there. It was a permaculture event, just learning about seeds and gardening and food forests and living off the land and such. And it was I had never been to anything like that. I really enjoyed it. But on the Saturday night, last night, they said they were doing like open mic, 4-minute TED talk style, just like micro talks. And I walked up. I said, "Hey, is there a list or something to get on? I think I'd like to share for a few minutes." To the guy that was coordinating, he goes, "Yeah, actually, you're next." And I didn't have a chance to think about anything. He walked right up there and said, "Hey, our next speaker is Keith Smith." And I walked up and I flat smacked them all. I mean, there was probably 100, people there at that moment, and you should have seen the eyeballs. Oh my God! Halfway through my little 2-minute talk, or 2 minutes in, I said, "Is there any other flat earthers here?" And I had a few fellow flat earthers in a crowd like that. I would have expected more being in that kind of a group. But what happened though, the good stuff that happened was afterwards. Like later that night, several people came up asking me questions. Almost all day today, people were coming up asking questions, and 80% of the conversations were really good, really good. There was one guy that was super arrogant and said, "What about this? What about this? What about this?" And he wouldn't listen to anything I had to say. I'd try to answer, and he'd say, "Well, what about this?" So I just said, "Hey man, have a good day," and walked off. But I met another cool flat earther. I've invited him here to the podcast. Maybe he can join us next year. He was just at the Flattoberfest event in South Carolina, I think it was. And, it was just a great experience. That was the first time I had ever shared flat earth from any kind of a microphone or open mic thing. I used to speak across the country all the time, but it was really cool to do that for the first time. I enjoyed it. But oh my God, guys, you should have seen the eyeballs when I told them the earth was flat. And I definitely, I
I
promoted
bet.
FTC. I put Flatten the Curve out there. I started with my story saying, the way I got into this was with a pilot that worked in the Navy for flying missions in Antarctica. And then I went into Flatten the Curve a little bit later and tied it all together. And I think that's going to be the first of many to come. I'm going to look for other opportunities to do that. And like I said, 80% of the conversations afterwards were all real sincere, people really asking real questions and taking the time to listen. So it was awesome.
Awesome, brother. And yeah,
That's
these
great.
people who have a different mentality about growing eco-friendly, living harmony with nature. There is some truth seeking in there. Not everybody's connected to that vibe of nature and earth and plants and healthy living. So maybe you really triggered some strings of these people, like maybe could reach something positive. So awesome, brother. Awesome. And our next and final panelist is Evelyn. Evelyn, how are you?
Hi guys. Good evening. I'm okay. I've done my homework at the last minute, so I'm looking forward to just sharing with you all what my findings are, and just read with you guys what I found. So looking forward to
Awesome.
that.
Yeah. So tonight's topic Egyptian. Wow. Egypt. Yeah, it's a very interesting place. One of the oldest civilization that we are speaking about. That many things we can find the roots there too of many different civilizations and cosmologies have some kind of a in a way of influence also, especially if we speak about Babylon, the Greek, the Sumerians, uh, the Hebrews. So it's all there is that a bit of connection right there because it's very near to each other, so that has to have some influence on their myth cosmologies. And yeah, before to jump into that, we just want to make sure that we're not trying to push any faith or religious thing here. We're just, as we mentioned before, we are just trying for the sake of research and investigation. We are doing all these different cosmologies, and because it connects us with flat Earth, and Egyptian cosmology is no other difference. So yeah. Before we jump in, one thing I wanted to mention, I didn't dig so much deep inside that, but they speak about the Egyptian cosmology or the calendar of the Egyptians. According to that calendar, we are in the year 6000. Have you guys have any idea about that?
Really, 6,000 even?
I thought it was short of 6,000, like 5,700 or something like that.
Yeah, but more or less similar,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
almost there.
All right.
almost there.
So 6000, and they believe that it's some of um, their scriptures are also of that antiquity of around 6,000 years.
Well, aren't the pyramids 4,500 years?
There are different theories about the.
Yeah, that's true too, right?
Uh,
The most common I see is about 4,500. Yeah, they have
some
no
also speak
idea.
about 10,000 BC when they say when the Orion was
Right.
on the top when that it was built. So
Right, yeah, they said the North Star was different, and one of the shafts lines up to what used to be the North Star, which I don't really believe, but that's what they say.
Yeah, if we work back, if we count back to creation time, that was about between 4,500 or 5,000 BC.
Right.
So the pyramids would be in that time frame of 4,000 BC or around. So it's
yeah, 4,000 BC is almost, yeah.
And they said it took about 20 years to build them, right? Great Pyramid of Khufu. They're saying 20 years to build that. And today, I don't think they could do the schematic drawings in 20 years without a computer. But computer might speed that up. Seriously, that's what they're trying to say. And keep in mind that all those years ago when they did that, they were lining them up to the stars in the belt of Orion. Not perfect, but really, really close. Close to true north, southeast, west. And like I can't picture them being able to build such monumental buildings like that. And the slave, they said slaves did it forever, for 100 years or whatever it was. Now they're saying that no, people were well fed and very happy while they built them.
yeah, they had
Exactly.
communities around the pyramids to where they lived.
I'm sorry?
They had communities like villages.
Oh, they had to.
Bakeries and
The production to get those
just to live
stones
there.
cut is incredible. Then they're trying to figure out how they moved it 500 miles across the sand, and they come up with wet sand theory. I'm like, I don't know if sand is anything worthy of construction unless it's contained and packed. And I don't know if they were able to do that or not, but I don't know.
Oh, we don't know what technology they could have used, to make them.
There's another theory that that says that the giants helped to make the pyramids. They could have easily picked up the stones and moved them around.
I believe that more than a big workforce of between 10 and 20,000 people.
Well, when we know that there's enough evidence to prove that the giants lived around that time.
Well, isn't there one petroglyph, a hieroglyph that shows what looks like a huge being holding a boulder across his shoulders on a stick, like one boulder?
There's that one. There's that one where there's like appears to be a giant holding two of the big blocks from the pyramid across the stick on each side. There's also in the same area. There's pictures of giants as tall as palm trees. There's also giants as tall as giraffes in their artwork.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe the Egyptians were 30 or 40 feet tall. We don't know.
I smoke cigarettes, right? And a pack of Camel Lights. You look at that, and it shows very strange looking pyramids on there, where the trees are twice the size of a pyramid. And the camel's in the forefront of the picture, but the horizon shows that the pyramids are right near. One pyramid is right near the trees, and the trees are definitely twice the size of that pyramid on the box of that. So cigarettes. Yeah. Very strange. I noticed that about a year ago.
Yeah. Well, the other theory is that they were built by the giants, and the theory is that it was Seth, that's Noah's son, Seth, who built the pyramids, and it was used as a safe place. So it wasn't a tomb. There was never any evidence of a tomb being there anyway, because it was empty when they opened it up, a couple of 100 years ago. So what they're deducing is that they used this pyramid to safe keep the books.
Yeah, I think there's another theory too that whatever the pyramids are made out of, whether it's limestone or whatever it is, that there was a guy here in Florida that built something called the Coral Castle, and allegedly he did it all by himself with huge stones, and he had some kind of crazy machine that helped him do it. But he was quoted as saying that he understands how people made the pyramids, and that there was some kind of levitation involved or something where they could move those stones, and for a short term or whatever, make them very light and not heavy at all. But I don't know anything about that. But there's things that we are told about, not just the cosmologies, but about the history of the Egyptian people. They don't make any real sense. In fact, guys, me with history, there's more and more people coming out thinking, hey, Egypt could have been right here in America, in North America. And I don't know about that, but there are some compelling points to that argument for the people who are making it.
There really is, Keith.
Yeah, there is. It's crazy.
We talked about, remember, bro? We talked about Kincaid and the Smithsonian. Smithsonian hired a guy named Kincaid in 1899 to go explore the Grand Canyon. And when he came back talking about pyramids and Sphinx and Egyptian artifacts and Buddhas back in this portion of the Grand Canyon, they stepped right in and closed it off, and it became a new Area 51.
Yeah, and there's areas there now that they will not allow you to go explore at all. It's
right.
Seriously off limits.
And the obelisks also is a important feature, like that's found everywhere. So as you guys are mentioning, so the pyramid form is there, and we can find this pyramid form in South America, temples in Asia, everywhere. So what? Everybody is Egyptian? No. Right?
No,
Yeah,
you
good
can
point.
deduce that they came from the same area and then spread out to other parts of the world where they took their own, the same technology with
Yeah,
them.
but the problem with
Yeah.
that is there's no record of it. They won't
No, there's no
admit the
record.
record of the traveling between the places. And, it makes me
No,
wonder
I
though.
don't think they had. I don't think they had that in mind to keep records. Probably had something more important things in their heads.
It makes me wonder though if there's any star forts buried under the sand around there.
I bet there is. I
Right?
bet. Yeah.
I have a feeling. And it's does everybody know that? And I think it was in 1940, someone in a plane figured out that Khufu, the Great Pyramid of Giza, has 8 sides showing. That each side is tapered into the center, and the narrative will blame it on the demolition during when they were taking the polished marble off the outside of it. They damaged it, and I'm like, oh my god, are you kidding? That's the story they're giving. That's crazy. They're perfect from centered right down to the center of the face of them. They have 8 sides.
So they accidentally perfectly damaged the pyramid to make the sides.
Bro, I'm like, are you kidding me?
How did
I
that happen?
can't even believe they said that. I doubt they were ever even covered personally, but I don't know. Maybe not. Like you, Keith. That's my attitude. Maybe not. I'd really.
Right.
Yeah.
I watched some pictures.
Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
I was just saying, on the pyramid subject, I watched a video of some pictures from 1913 from an expedition to Antarctica. And guess what's in Antarctica in 1913? You won't find them very easily, but I mean, there's pictures of pyramids somewhere in Antarctica from 100 years ago.
They look like pyramids. They're trying to count them as mountains. Sorry, no, that's natural. Okay. Unless the pictures are fake, that like again, maybe not, but they look pretty real. They show the newer ones too, Keith, out of the back of a helicopter, or not helicopter, of a plane leaving, taking off, or getting there, or one or the other, whatever. But they show aerials of it, and it looks like a pyramid, huge one, big one.
Yeah, as well as the huge tree stumps I've seen in Antarctica as well. So whoever the Egyptians were, whoever the Norse people were, whoever all these cosmologies were, they all seem to be everywhere, all across the earth. I kind of prescribe to the idea that it might have been, a unified civilization everywhere across the surface of the flat earth, not just this country and that country. And I just don't know that I buy any of that anymore.
Nah, Keith, it had to be, bro. It had to be, especially with the star forts. That to me is one of the key elements on the worldwide cooperation and community that's unspoken. The star forts and the pyramids. The people, they have to show the pyramids in a big way because they're huge, I guess. The star forts are so overlooked that they're barely mentioned. They call them bastion forts, and they got an excuse for every war that they needed them for.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't line up. No,
and
it just doesn't.
They're everywhere. There's thousands and thousands of them. I mean, that star forts might be more of the smoking gun than anything else once you start getting into it. And
I think so.
There's thousands that we know of. How many more thousands might there be underground that we don't know of, or halfway buried, halfway destroyed?
That's a good point. Yeah, like the sand. I just thought that like today or yesterday while I was going over stuff. I'm like, the star forts. It just struck me. I'm like, they got to be around somewhere. And I started thinking about how much sand is burying how much of the pyramid and all that kind of stuff. What shape is it? Is it another pyramid underneath? Is it flat? Is it round? Just like a weeble? Who knows? And you know what else, guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys? If you look at an aerial shot of the Sphinx, it seems pretty apparent that is not the original head of the Sphinx, or the original head it just looks way off of it. The paws are really far out extended. It looks like the shoulders are brought back. Yeah, check out some aerials, both of Khufu and the and the Sphinx. And you tell me what you think, because I think it looks like the original might have been just recarved and pushed back while it was being recarved.
You know what we see there is geometry. We see symmetry. We see sacred geometry in a way. In the Sphinx, in the pyramids, because there's according to the Egyptians, there is supposed to be 7 different cosmic power or existence, in a way they could say, and the first one is supposed to be, it's called Mat. In other words, in the Sumerian, we can call the god Tiamat. The word Mat is there. Okay, what does it sound like? Mats. What is maths? So maths is all, in a way, definition of this realm, in a way, mathematics, but real mathematics, not this pseudoscience mathematics, what the globe authors use for their fake formulas. We're speaking about real mathematics, So the word is right there, maths. It's awesome. It's crazy. That's why you see those perfections. Yeah, go ahead.
It's 2 A's, right? M-A-A-T?
Yeah.
And a mat, like on your front door, it's flat, right? Just saying.
Exactly. And the maths, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. Excellent. Like a sheet and a bed and a plane and a mat. And it's just going on and on.
Right. And these how do you say, the pyramids, as we spoke about in other podcasts, that the pyramid is also a representation of the Mount Meru, like is in the one we discussed from the Aztecs, the temples in Asia, the stupas are very similar. So in a way, you also have that. We know that the pyramids also have the same amount or below. They have like a lower chambers. We don't know how is the shape of the chambers, but it's representing that lower and upper worlds or realms, different realms. So in a way, apart from being it whatever energy harvester or whatever the people think that it's made for, one of the most important thing, according to my way of seeing the pyramids, is that it's a representation of the Mount Meru, and there's nothing more bigger than pyramid as a structure to show to the people that what is the real meaning. The people can think of whatever use or whatever meaning they could have for the pyramids, but I think this is one of the most thing is the Mount Meru representation right there, and is in its massive form for everybody to see. But the people go there to see, but they really don't understand the real significance of what are they seeing.
No, they don't. And I think it's absolutely incredible that even today, with all of the so-called technology, that they just absolutely cannot reverse engineer how they did it. They can't do it. And you know what they said? The what's the tower? The Khalifa Tower? That cost $1.5 billion. And then they say estimates to rebuild a pyramid would be about $1 billion. I'm like, oh man, these people are funny.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Hey, so I wanted to ask Evelyn something, because she said she had done some homework. I guess we've all heard that the pyramids align to the stars in Orion's belt, but and I didn't have time to look into it. But do any of you guys know if the pyramids have any kind of alignment from the sun and the moon for the equinoxes and the solstices?
I think it does, because I think one of the shafts also point, I think, to the east. There's a shaft that points to the east.
Yeah, that's something I want to look into, because I just have a gut instinct or feeling that there's something of the construction maybe not just of those pyramids, but pyramids other
That's
places
something I
too. That
used to remember from National Geographic.
yeah,
The Earth is stationary. We know that, and we could just put a big stone in the middle of a field and make a hole in it and see through the Polaris, and that could be a clock, a sundial, or whatever it could represent to follow the equinox. You could literally mark on those four sides of that block and create those points that the sun rise or set on equinox or on solstice or seeing through the North Pole. And because it's stationary, it's perfection. So I think also it's doing a job of doing all these kind of the pyramid, right? Seeing different constellation or the Polaris or the equinox, or these 8 sides could represent apart from the 4 sides, the subdivisions of the each cardinal points where it could literally mark the seasons.
yeah,
Well,
and what we talked about in the past is it's not just the pyramids, but there's so many of the what people would call the Greco-Roman architecture, the buildings with the huge steeples, the cathedrals, the domed buildings. That a lot of those are built in perfect alignment for the sun to shine in the windows at the perfect time on the solstices. And here we are told that all these ancient people were stupid because they believe the Earth is flat, but they built all these amazing structures, huge structures that are in perfect alignment to the motion of the sun and the moon going over us.
Yeah, that's a very popular topic in all these films. Indiana Jones and all these uh, anywhere where they have to look for a treasure or something. There's always a shaft where the sun is coming in the solstice, and then it points onto something to trigger something else and all that. So it is something that we see also in the movies.
Exactly, and the constructions and the markings, and also.
and the hunt.
Even in the Lord of the Rings, where they were looking for the entrance to the dwarf kingdom. They had to wait for a certain time and at the top of the mountain.
All the effort to show these little clues.
Yeah.
Throughout how many movies, right? And I still wonder why the Vatican has so much interest in looking at the stars. Not really why, but like what is it that something's gonna happen and they're gonna know we're not.
It is said that all not only the history but the whole story of the Earth is written in the stars. So if you can read what the stars are saying at the moment, then you can sort of read the script. So that's. So
they know about the recurring flood that happens way more often than they want to admit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, we are speaking about these constructions so ancient, and they were not using cement. And those structures are still today, and these engineers we have today that they're building whatever crap with their cement and concrete, it doesn't last more than 100 years and needs maintenance. And these ancient people had these structures that are still standing, against time, and their locations and their meaning and the significance and their importance and their. So there is so much connection with the sky, with the earth, with the energies, with the ley lines, with the pyramids, as we spoke about the star forts, the other kind of construction. It's all kind of maps in a way too, to point out the real energetic places, of importance.
It's amazing though how they did line them up. How the whole story of the pyramids is just incredible. To line them up down here just to get the stone to line them up. Let's forget about that. So they got them, and then they line them up. So, and then the stars still stay in the same position, but they're really moving. You guys, right? You hear that story, right? It's just crazy, guys. That just cannot be. No parallax, that's called. Zero parallax in the stars. They do not change position from each other. Same star patterns drift across the sky, eon after eon. So the significance of positioning was so great.
Oh yeah, but these people were not immature. You were speaking about quite a thousands of years, and these people already had that technology to build that and working and functioning. So what are we
Right.
speaking about? Really, what did these people know about our their Earth, their cosmos, their universe,
Really?
whatever you want to call them? So
Right. How did they? Right. Exactly, Vika. How did they know where to put those and why to put those big things there? And then they cover. They're like, I don't know. For 20 years. I don't know. Not with people our size. I don't know if that's really possible. And they cut the stone with what they're saying with like sapphires embedded into bronze. Get out of here. You guys ever work a saw? There's people who made that story up ever use a saw in their life? I don't think. If they had stuff like that, I don't know if they were really using it to cut blocks of stone like that.
Or
And then dragging them.
Maybe they had some special tools.
Well, that's what they were calling them, special tools.
Yeah.
Bronze with sapphires and rubies embedded into it. I'm like, no way. No way. The force. How do you line them up in a saw-shaped object? What is it? Was it a circular saw? Was it a hand saw? Was it a band saw? It doesn't add up.
I think it's probably, and maybe this sounds a bit off or a bit crazy to some people, but I think that they were probably able to make a laser, because a laser is like to put it simply, light through a crystal. So if they had knowledge how to use those crystals, they probably had the knowledge to make a sort of a laser.
I believe that over a ruby saw.
Yeah.
Or even like something like harmonics.
Because even in Noah's Ark, he got instructions to actually get a crystal from a certain area in the land, and to use that as light in the ark. So it's like, whoa, he's using the crystal as a light source. So there's some kind of technology going on there that we can't figure out. Well, normal people. Maybe other people have figured it out, but
that's what I think.
It's
a long time ago. All of a sudden, I just figured that these people know exactly why. They're not going to tell us though.
No, of course not.
They're not.
Then we have free energy, free light.
Right, and things in the atmosphere that like we say a lot. The pictures, we could send pictures anywhere in the world, and 3 seconds later we'd be talking about that picture together. And I think we could be utilizing those airwaves personally if we were taught how. And then but then we got the food, the air, and the water being so poisoned for so long that they're just chipping away at any of those abilities, I think. The school system takes up how much of our time? The food is dumbing us down. Well, so we got so many things we're battling that we don't even know. And people aren't even willing to admit that the clouds aren't real and chemtrails are bad. And so our hands are full.
Clouds are horrible. I remember a few years ago, I would say to my kids, "Oh, look, the cloud looks, fluffy cloud. It looks like whatever animal, and then it would sort of change. It morphs as it moves and all that. But they don't do that nowadays. The clouds. It's like
They just kind of sit there.
they kind of sit there, yeah, in one shape, and they just move across, and they don't morph into anything. It's a big blob.
Typically gray, right?
Yeah, very dirty. They look really sandy colored, yellowish. They don't look white anymore.
I'll go back to that event that I was at the last few days. 240 people, and I'm going to guess about half of them are, really what my wife jokingly calls granola people, which are, fruits, flakes, and nuts. And, and I'm okay with that. They're like really hippie generation, and my wife and I are kind of people like that too. So I'm not making fun of them. But the flat Earth dude that I met there, he and I'll probably become pretty good friends. He said, these people out here, they think they're trying to save the planet, to wake the blank up because the Earth's not a planet.
Nice.
But they've been conditioned and programmed by the government and the schools that, Mother Earth, and we have to take care of Mother Earth so she can take care of us. And, there's a hole in the ozone. I've been hearing about that since I was in high school or junior high or something. And all this stuff about the planet and saving the planet. And that was one of the big conversations I had with a lot of people. I said, hey, the Earth is not a planet. The Earth is not in space. Everything we see in the sky moves and rotates perfectly over us, as it always has and always will. And the Earth is like the ground floor, and everything else in the sky is like lights in the ceiling. And I must have had that same conversation with, at least a dozen people just today. And they had never thought about it or considered it before.
Exactly. Yeah, because the people don't, they are awoke in some aspects, but still asleep in majority, so.
My 18-year-old son said exactly that, Vikka. He said, Dad, you know what it is? I think these people are awoke, or they're awakened in some areas, but other places they're still just indoctrinated as hell. And I said, son, and that's exactly right.
And that means that a bit of awakeness is good for nothing, because it's not really taking you in the right direction, right?
Right. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I also joked with my wife years ago. We were in where were we? Sedona, Arizona. That's like a real kind of new agey place. You go and pray and meditate and hike amongst all the what I now know to be melted buildings, more than likely, or ancient trees. But we were driving through a parking lot in Sedona, and this lady was walking around the parking lot, looking here and looking there, and her eyes were squinted. And I just nudged my wife, said, "Hey, look, she's looking for herself."
Like she's looking for the curve.
Have lost, and I think that's part of this matrix in this society, is that a lot of humanity we've just lost connection to who we are, to where we just can sit still and be content. I mean, how powerful is that you can just go sit on the beach somewhere, in the woods somewhere, and just sit still and be content. Don't worry about something you messed up on yesterday. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Just learn to sit still and be content, and try to remember who you are.
100%, bro.
So I had a good weekend. It was fun. I got to do that again soon. I think there's another one coming up in February that's 5 days long, and you can rest assured I'll be, if there's keynote speakers there, I'll be one of them, and you know what it'll be about. So looking forward to that one.
Awesome, bro.
The ultimate seed planting.
Oh man, it was good. But dude, the eyeballs. Oh my God. And there was a huge fire going off to the side. So I see all the fire glistening off their eyeballs as their eyes got bigger and bigger, when I was sitting there telling them, hey, the Earth is an electrical, topographical, stationary plane. And but some of the people, like, maybe half the people today that were real friendly yesterday, before I had that speech last night, I don't know. Here's what one of them did. They walked up to me, opened his mouth to say something, and then closed his mouth and turned and walked away. Like he was going to say something, and literally wouldn't do it. And then I saw other people look at me and quickly turn and look the other way. And one of the guys there, I won't tell his name, but he was there selling something or doing something with herbs. And he was talking to this other flat earther I had met last night after the event, after I had spoken. And he got so triggered by flat Earth and was so mad. And this is like love and joy and peace, one of these really hippie guys. And he got so mad. He's like, guys, come on. Can we just not talk about this? Like, the dude couldn't even have a conversation without getting so triggered that he had to tell everybody, let's just stop talking about this.
It makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's that cognitive dissonance. Wow. It causes pain in the brain.
It does, bro.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So shut down.
So whoever's listening to the podcast, try to be willing to question what you were taught, question what you believe. And that, another guy, one of the real arrogant guys about it today, he literally could not consider anything that I was saying. And I was saying some simple stuff, and he was trying to confuse the different cosmologies of flat Earth and versus the heliocentric, trying to blend the two like people do. I was like, hey, wait, let's forget about the sky for a minute. Let's just bring it back down here to Earth. Water does not display convexity on its surface. Let's just try to start there. And he immediately went back to something else. Like, he couldn't consider the simple facts of looking at the horizon. I said, look, the horizon is always flat. There's never any geometry on the horizon. And he had to jump to something else. I mean, flat Earth is so simple. But because it is so different from what we were brainwashed to believe, some people, like the people I'm talking about right now, they just can't even get it in their mind. They can't even consider it at all. So that's what we're up against. But thank God, like I said, 80% of my conversations today, they were right on. Real sincere people asking good questions and nodding their heads. And one of the girls said, I'm not a flat earther, but everything you're saying, it makes sense. It just makes a lot of sense to me. I said, well, good. Just keep digging, keep going, and you'll just see what you learn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that the ball is just full of impossibilities that people can fathom, and they just believe it because some scientist or whatever knows better and said it. So yeah, on the flat Earth it's so simple. I mean, when I first understood what it was, I'm like, oh my God, my mind was free, my soul was free. Like, what happened? What just happened here? And yeah, that was for me the turning point. So
I don't know how water isn't a clincher. I really don't.
Yeah, what's so hard to understand about that? You mean the natural physics of water? I ask my friends all the time, what's so hard for you to understand about the natural physics of water?
Bro.
Own level. What does level mean? And it has to be contained.
Yep. And speaking about water, the Egyptian creation story begins with a sea, which is, in a way, it's called chaos. Just there existed just the sea, and the god Atum, interesting name, sounds like atom, said his name.
I thought that too. Sounded like Adam.
All right.
You see, that's where I don't have a problem relating things, like making those dots connect. Some people are like, no, it's not the same. I'm like, all right, yeah, it's not, but look how close. Look at the story, where it is, and the story too. It's like, okay.
Exactly. So from the perspective of the Egyptians, like time before the primordial beginning, start in which they call the sea. The sea was a formless void and unutilized, which means limitless.
yes, they also describe it as chaos.
Right. Exactly. And they wanted to make order of that chaos. That's why they created this world. Yeah, go ahead, Jeannie.
No, I was going to say that was their main battle throughout a lot of the story in Egypt was they wanted the order from chaos. They understood that they needed the both to have the both. Couldn't have one without the other and make it really work. So they wanted to find the order from the chaos.
Exactly, and also as Jay Daddy mentions, Om is a sound vibration. So it's a very important sound and meaning. It has so many meanings, more than 100 meanings, you know. So if you connect Om, atom,
Right.
Om, you know, when these
Cool.
people meditate Om, they're like, it's like almost like it's supposed to be the heartbeat of the universe, or the pulse of the cosmos, or the pulse or the heartbeat, you know. So quite important, interesting anagram there of the word Om, atom.
Yeah, I never thought of
The
that.
creation of it, the creation of the universe, is come from the god Atom in the.
That's great. Very cool.
So this god, he thought that there was, to make order in the sea, there was no land, you know. So he spoke the name of their sons in a way, you know. There are different sons. I don't remember the exact name. Shu and Tefnut. I don't know the exact name. Like, it's supposed to represent the dryness of the air and the moisture. You know, these two sons of this god were created before the land, and then the land emerged from the sea.
Yes. What I found out is that they have multiple versions of the story.
Cosmologies, yeah.
Yeah. And they place 8 deities. They're called the Ogdoad, and they are a kind of 4 pairs of gods. The male gods were they had frog heads, and the female counterparts, they had serpent heads, and they had names, and there
Heka,
were,
I think so. The snake, which represents the desire, the monster in the sea, you know, the serpent.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's the other version. I'm reading the other version. Because between them, where's the egg?
You know what, guys? All the different cosmologies we're going through all have all these different gods for very specific reasons, and it's reminding me of the plants. How every plant is medicine for a specific reason too. For some reason, just see like a
the herbs.
Similarity between them. Yeah, right.
Herbs were given for all sicknesses, or for diseases and all that.
Oh yeah, it's our importance for survival. Yeah, the vegetation.
Yeah, it is, and that's why, you know, these Monsanto type companies find it so important. You know, Monsanto owns like 90% of the seed companies available right now, and that's a whole different show. Monsanto, what they did.
Exactly.
Yeah, in one of the versions, it describes how the world was created by Atom. That's the god of Heliopolis. Heliopolis is
it's the city of Hermes.
a city in Lower Egypt. Yes, and you have there Helio, as in heliocentric. You see the word coming back, which means sun, Helio, sun. So that was the sun god
Ra.
worshippers. Yeah.
So was Ra the sun or the sun god? Because I thought Adam was the sun god. I'm not sure.
It was no.
Actually, according to what I understand with the Egyptian cosmology is that the Ra is supposed to be the sun god, which is incarnated on the earth as Ra,
Okay.
or put there. God himself has put there. So one eye represents the sun and the other eye represents the moon. So it's supposed to be like the two eyes, the sun and the moon, are the eyes of the god. So you could maybe looks like it's the avatar. The Ra is the avatar of the god itself, of the Egyptian gods, because in their creation story, as I mentioned, that the two sons of these gods were created before the land, and these two the sons which became the dryness of the air and the moisture, they went in the abyss, and then the god sent the Ra, to look for these two sons, because he was missing them. And when the Ra went there to find those sons and brought them back, the god cried, and these tears, what that fell from the eyes, the humans and all the creatures were created from the tears of this god. So the Ra, which is the sun, which was created to the sun later, was looking for these two sons, who got them back. And when he got back, he found that there was another eye replaced with the one the god sent. So they both divided themselves, the two eyes, the sun and the moon. So we could literally say that the sun and the moon is the eyes of the god, according to the Egyptian cosmology. And it's like literally they're watching us all the time. The gods, in a way, as it represents. So how important it is in the Egyptian cosmology of the sun, the Ra, and the movement of the sun, which in itself, it means that the earth is stationary, right?
Okay. Yes. Here's the egg.
Speaking of stationary, if I change the subject just a little bit and talk about another God, at least to millions of people, and that's the God of Jesus. He's talked about, being dead for 3 days and raised on the third day, and how that perfectly correlates to the winter solstice, when the sun is traveling over the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere. Allegedly, and I haven't gone out and tested this myself, but supposedly the sun doesn't move back towards the north for 3 days. And on the third day, the sun rises back towards the north, coming back towards the equator, back to the Tropic of Cancer. And all that happens on December 21st. So December 24th or 25th, however they count the days, is when the actual sun that's in our sky rises from its 3 days of no movement, or 3 days of death, if you will, and starts coming back towards closer to the center of the flat earth. So all this talk about gods, whether it's Jesus or whether it's Ra or whether it's Allah or one of the others, there's a lot of similarities in the stories of death and rebirth.
Exactly. Well said. I think Garrett, if I'm right, has joined us. Garrett, do you hear us?
Garrett, are you there? You might have to unmute your mic.
Or turn up the volume.
Yeah, I hear some background noise or something.
Yeah, we just hear background. I don't know if you're driving or if it's windy, but we hear background. But we don't hear you, Garrett. Maybe you need to jump out and try again. Oh yeah, Keith. It doesn't matter of which god or which deity we speak about. We see the connection there. And speaking about the Ra and the sun and the eyes of Horus, the hour word is also there in the anagram Horus. Yeah, and it also represents the eye. The eye also represents, in a way, the pineal gland right there. That the eyes of Horus, the way it represents in the brain.
And what's the significance of all the pine cones and so much of the Egyptian art? I mean, I don't know of a whole lot of pine trees that are in the desert out there by the pyramids, but they sure have a lot of pine cones in the art in the carved into stone there. So yeah, I think there's a relationship there to the pineal gland being opened, which in this generation that we live in now, from the fluoride in the water to whatever else. And they say they calcify it where it hardens, and it just like our minds don't work at the capacity that they could work or should work if we had maybe better diet or better thoughts, whatever it may be. But the Egyptians and the pine cone is a good interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Oh yeah.
I'm of the opinion that
Garrett just texted me.
pineal gland, which was the connection to the Creator, to God. I'm of the opinion that shut down when Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, because they were light beings. They were in connection with God. They walked with God in the garden and all that. But once they sinned, they were thrown out of the garden, and they had to live as humans, and they didn't have that connection, that direct connection with God. So yeah, I'm more of
it's like it's like taking away your vision, right?
Yes,
because they eat the forbidden fruit, so they were reset in a way,
Yeah, they were how to say, taken. It was sort of taken away from them. Like, okay, you're going to be mortals. You're going to be living as humans. So that connection is going to be shut down. So I don't think we're supposed to be able to use it in this dimension, so to speak, because it's not supported. It's not. How to say, we don't have the software for it.
Right. Or maybe it's not available for everyone. So. Oh yeah, and also, if we have seen those Egyptian drawings about the firmament, it shows that it's a woman, like almost like covered on the top. So
yes, it's a woman.
And it's supposed to be two goddesses. The female is the firmament, and the earth is the male, where everything lives and grows. It's almost like the earth is like a giant, male giant, and everything is growing above his body, and the female is the firmament that is protecting us and have all the luminaries in there. Oh, very flat out cosmology, right? There's nothing global out there.
Yeah, Atom, he created two offspring. That was Shu, to represent the dry air, and Tefnut for the
Right.
moist air. Yeah, and then the twins, the two, they separated the sky from the waters, so the waters above and the waters below.
Exactly. It looks very similar to have you guys seen this movie Abyss, right? This guy when he this alien creature that wherein takes in from the depths of the abyss and he bring it to their place and it's in the water and he creates like a barrier between the water where he could breathe. You guys remember that shot, right? So it's very similar, like creating in the waters an area. Oh, like it just two creatures or two entities that they create. They just divide the waters and create that earth and that firmament to be existed in the middle of the abyss or the middle of the water. Very similar.
In the drawing, the dry land, Geb, he's depicted lying on the ground and lying flat, and the female is depicted on hands and feet, and then arching over everything,
Exactly.
creating the dome.
Yeah, and also they show those gods in the boat, and this boat. I think it connects also with the movement of the sun and those gods in that boat.
Oh yeah, the sun god's eye. Here is it. I'm gonna read that a bit. The sun god Re, a form of atom, ruled over the earth, where humans and divine beings coexisted. Humans were created from the eye of Re, of Wejat, the eye of wholeness. This happened when the eye separated from Re and failed to return. So Shu and Tefnut, that's the twins, went to fetch it, but the eye resisted. In the ensuing struggle, the eye shed tears from which humans were born. So the humans were born from the tears of the eye.
Exactly, it's the importance of vision, the eye. Yeah.
Yeah, it represents the power to see, to illuminate, and to act. The act of bringing the eye back to the Creator was equivalent to healing the earth, the restoration of right and order. Maintaining
Yeah.
right and order to prevent the earth from falling into chaos was central to the pharaoh's role. Okay. He had a big responsibility there.
Yeah, to create order and harmony was the main reason for these gods to manifest and do what they were doing with their creation.
Yes. Yes, and in the rising.
It sounds like the controller's motto.
Yes, in the rising and setting of the sun, they sort of represents the rebirth of the earth every day. So
Yeah, it's in a way cycles. It's trying to explain it's the cycle. Everything is a cycle. Even a day when the sun rises, it goes at its peak and then it sets. So we have the smaller cycle to the bigger cycles. It's just in a way trying to explain the cycles of from the smallest to the biggest, which could go hundreds and thousands of years right there. So it's again speaking about the perfection of the creation that is very symmetric and very cyclic because we are not spinning.
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a repetition every day of the same cycle.
Cycles, yeah.
And die and then rebirth. And
speaking of cycles, and I don't know, maybe you guys do, but Did the Egyptians go on that 13-month lunar calendar of 28 days, or did they have something like what we have now? Do you know?
Oh,
They had a very, I think, yeah, go ahead.
no,
I would
that's
picture
good to know.
28 days.
I mean, the 28-day lunar cycle, that's perfect. I mean, if we were to operate that today, that would simplify so many things.
That's what I bet. They had no idea what the Gregorian was like back then. I bet you they were lunar.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
And possibly even like celestial. They probably paid attention to what the stars were doing, drifting around, right?
Yes, yeah, they depended on the stars for the seasons, because
Right.
they had to get, they had to plant seeds and collect all the produce in the good season, in the good week, in the good precisely.
Yeah, they needed to know when to plant.
Yeah,
that was really important.
Yeah, that's
Harvest
something
a little.
I asked the guys at that event last night when I was sharing this short little part. I said, how many of you guys plant your seeds according to the lunar cycles? And like out of the 120 people in the little crowd there, maybe 3 or 4 of them raised their hands. And I'm at an event where people are supposed to be learning about all this stuff. I assumed that half of the people would have raised their hands and known about that. But here we are, because the calendar that we live under through the government is so out of whack with the natural cycles of the sun and the moon. Most of these people who are trying to be better and do better and eat healthier, they didn't know anything about planting your seeds according to the cycles of the moon.
Yeah, and they also had to keep track of the weeks of the seasons because they had also the special festival days, gods appointed festivals, feasts. So they had to also know when to have that feast on that particular day or a week.
Hey Keith, I wanted to remind you, if you didn't remember already, but we were talking a way back about before you plant a seed that you're going to grow food for yourself. It could be worth your while to put your saliva on that seed.
Yep, I remember
right?
that. Yep.
Right.
And
then we were taking it a step further, and I was thinking, so put them in your mouth and do a not a chant, but a hum or om, and give it the visual and say that little prayer to it or whatever it is that, right? I thought I would just bring that up. Could be worth it, then that plant will grow very specific things to what your body will need. And I don't know if that's really true, but I heard that, and it sounds like a pretty wonderful thing that the narrative would very conveniently leave out for us.
Yeah, my wife read that in a book years ago. She also just reminded me that it's the same thing with the baby's saliva on the mother's nipple. When the baby's drinking the milk, it's telling the mother's body what it needs as the baby is growing.
Ah, wow. See? So there seems to be a lot of truth to that sort of idea with things. The communication is there. That's communication, if you ask me, bro. In a way that,
Yeah, it's beyond knowledge. It's beyond it's just something that's a knowing or a wisdom that is put into us by whoever the intelligent designer or designers are, whoever the creator is. He, she, they. I don't assume.
Right.
But there's a wisdom in us and around us that if we can learn to be more in tune with that and the natural cycles that were created, perhaps we can live a more peaceful, powerful, enjoyable life.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
only we could understand the real how the creation works, everything,
Yeah, when you think of it, that you can get DNA from your saliva, I mean that would mean that the DNA is sort of sending messages or connecting with whatever it is, with the seed or with a baby on the
they're talking, right?
Yeah,
I think that's such a wonderful idea.
Yeah, and speaking to the plants is possible. Speaking to the medicine, speaking to everything,
Yeah,
gratitude works with it because everything has a spirit. Everything has
that's
a
right.
life. Everything is living. Everything, especially everything organic. Everything in and out of us, and everything around us. So yeah. What I wanted to mention about also the Ra, it's very important here, the Ra, because the Ra, Ra'el, is Ra'el. So the word there is right connection
Oh,
with the Hebrew, right there with the Egyptian. How important is the sun? And then I also mentioned in the last podcast about Ravi. Ravi in Sanskrit is the sun, right? Ravivar, Sunday, Ra, right there. You see it's the eternal connection right there of the sun. So the sun god Ra was of really important, for the ancient Egyptians. The sun's daily movement from the east to west and his daily rising and setting served as a metaphor for the cycle of life, from birth to adulthood to death to rebirth. you know the sun in what was largely a desert environment in Egypt, maybe, so like also the early Egyptians interest in the solar concept. At dusk the sun god proceeded into the underworld. It's crazy. The sun god spent the 12 hours of the night traveling in the underworld, ultimately merging with Osiris. The journey was treacherous, and the sun god faced his enemy, Aphosis, a serpent who threatened him as he traveled in his solar boat. Solar boat. So here again mentioning of what is moving.
you're right. I was
So,
thinking before that they knew so many things about the celestial, the stars going by, and would they have built something so monumental with such precision if they were going to move and change position? So they knew the stars were never going to change position. I think too. They built something that was going to last so long. For what? To line it up with that for what? For it to change? I have a hard time with that. So I think that's telling us right there that they knew the stars were never going to shift position and that the world is not moving and the stars are just drifting by in the same pattern and they're always gonna. Well, probably for the most part. Like we'd say, the Vatican's looking for something to happen up there. What that is, I don't know, but it seems to be something. But these guys knew.
Maybe they're watching out for changes in the
Yeah, right. Like a
in
shift.
the
One if
path,
one
like
star if they
path
know that one
between.
star is going to
Yeah.
move, it's game over. Then they know. That's all it can. It could be something as simple as that. They might not be
Mm.
like wondering about it like we are. They probably know exactly when they're looking. They maybe not. Maybe they don't know when. Could be the question. That's why they keep looking. That's what I
Yeah.
think. But I have a feeling they know if there's a few spots, they know them. They know where they're looking. I don't think it's a big mystery to them. And same thing. I think that if they were building these monumental structures to such precision as something in the sky, then they knew it wasn't moving and it was never gonna.
Well, going back to the Christmas story for us Americans, and the three wise men, which was not three. I mean, they gave three gifts, but there was more like 50 or 60 or 70 wise men that came from the east who were stargazers or astronomers or whatever. That when Jesus was born, allegedly, that a star appeared. And we don't know, I don't know if that's a literal story or if it's a metaphorical story or allegory. I don't know. I mean, everybody
Ah,
in the religious world, they'll be glad to give you their opinion on what they think it is. But I don't subscribe to any of those religions. But I think that the fact in the Bible that these wise men from the east were looking for a star to appear, and then they came to visit the Son of God. That there's more to that story than just the hold on, baby. My little girl's coming up telling me she's a superhero. Yes, you are. But I think there's just more to everything that we think we know. There's either more to it, or some of it's just cool, made up stories that people believe are actual, real things that happened in the past. That maybe they were just something we were supposed to learn from.
Exactly.
I never knew they were looking for something to appear. I thought they were following something to get there. And you know what? Those stars don't line up in December in that part of the world, from what I understand. So,
according to the New Testament and the Bible, it says that we saw his star appear. And then when they saw the star appear, they allegedly started making their journey. And they didn't come to see Jesus as a baby in a crib. They came to see the child, Jesus. And they went to the house to see him maybe when he was 3 or 4 years old, because it took them quite a journey to go from India, if that's where it was, to Egypt. Egypt really is where it is, or Israel, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm saying, that we have all these stories that we're taught as true and as literal, and
Right.
Maybe it's not at all.
Now, I think, I really think that most of the stories come from the narrative, kind of like based on what happened, with mostly lies and some truths twisted in there. That some of the truths are backwards. You got to figure this stuff out.
Well, apparently there was a special alignment when Christ was born. So they actually know the precise date when he was born. So yeah,
When who was born?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay. What date was it?
September 11th.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Not shocked. A little surprised, but not shocked. Really? September 11th.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Funny date, huh?
Yeah.
So who's going to celebrate Christmas on 9/11, eh?
Yeah, right. That whole thing. But hey, Keith, I was thinking about the giant trees cut down, and when you were saying last week about Christmas cutting, how we cut down swaths of Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And it made me think, some of the stumps that we see, that the mountains, like, where did the tree go? And a stump will last typically longer than a tree will if it lays there and rots. The stump will last a pretty long time.
Right.
And the tree could rot away way quicker. But it made me think, though, if there's these stumps all around, maybe it was like what happened at Christmas during that time. Maybe, that's why there's no tree. They took the tree and did something with it. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be, because some of the so-called ancient tree stumps that are there doesn't appear to be any body of the tree anywhere. But there are other ones that were like entire mountains appear to be
right.
Petrified tree now.
Exactly. There's both varieties of that.
Right.
So it's just, it's great stuff to wonder about.
Yeah.
I'd rather wonder about that than getting hit by a meteor that's not existing.
Right. Or an alien invasion coming to get us.
They use strontium in the chemtrails, and strontium is a huge component in 3-dimensional holographic images. It's just saying.
Yep. It's. I have no doubt that at some point, Werner von Braun, the founder of NASA's, words are going to come true. That when he said, the very last card they're going to play is the alien threat or the alien invasion. So I have no doubt, and whether that happens in my lifetime or maybe my kids, I don't know. But I think they're setting up. They're obviously setting up humanity for another great deception. And this whole thing that happened in the last 2.5, 3 years now was just.
Oh boy.
I see how far they could push the envelope. How much would the sheep fall in line and believe whatever they were told? And now they know more than ever.
And the same, bro, with the NASA stuff coming out, the James Webb and all these, the Artemis and this and that, all these pictures coming from all over the place throughout the years of these probes being sent out. And they send back like real, like literal cartoons that are just so ridiculous.
Yeah, they are.
And it's another
yeah.
way they're weeding us out. Because if you're a grown adult with two half decent eyes and you look at that and think it's real, that's nerve wracking. That's nerve wracking.
Today it was on the news here that the Artemis, how do you call it, the thing, the thing, has landed in the water.
Oh, it's back?
Yeah, it's back. It's back.
Oh my God! Listen to this. It took 3 days for them to. It took them 3 days to get those guys to the moon in 1969, and it took 6 days to get Artemis there in 2020.
With no men on
2022.
Yeah, with no men. What happened?
That's the progress. Yeah, with no people.
I mean, the people who buy these stories.
One of my cousins was saying, "Nah."
I'm just saying, the people who are buying these stories from NASA, I think they have literally lost their ability to discern reality and fantasy. They just can't discern anymore. You guys still there? I'm hearing static.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we're here.
What I also wanted to mention that, out of the nothingness, there was a potential of creation. Like the Egyptians believed that from the 8 gods came a cosmic egg that contained the deities responsible for creating the rest of the world, including the primeval mound, the first land to arise out of the waters of the pre-creation. So in some of the myths, the egg was laid by a goose named the Great Cackler, while in other versions, an ibis, the bird associated with God Thoth, is responsible for the egg.
Yes, the god Thoth. It was an sort of a human body with a head of an ibis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it also speaks about after the mount appeared, a lotus bloomed, signaling the birth of the newborn sun god. After the sun made its first appearance, the rest of the creation could follow. So it also represents or describes as a scrap beetle that emerged from the lotus. It's representing the earth and the sun coming out, The scrap, the beetle, is a very important symbol in the Egyptian cosmology. The scarab is often a solar symbol. So,
all this time, I thought the scarab was going to wake up the mummies that were going to take over the world or something like that.
Right.
So, exactly. Yeah, go ahead, Jeannie.
I'm pretty sure that black cats were not bad luck until more recent times too, and that Egyptians kind of thought black cats were more of a symbol of good luck.
Oh yeah, I have had all colors of cat. So I've had black too. I still have one, and one grease. I had all colors, brown, mix. Living in the nature. Sometimes they just come and stay. They just come and stay. You
track them, right? They know where to go.
Oh yeah, the black one I have is almost looks like a jaguar. It's full black with just the tips of the feet white.
Cool. Cool. I found a cat in my yard probably 4 or 5 years ago, and looks like a Norwegian forest cat or a Maine Coon. Small for a Maine Coon, that's why I think it's Norwegian forest. But she's in my house. That's my buddy. She's my little pal now. When she gets out, I go looking for her. She comes right back in the house by herself. It's she's a wonderful little animal.
Yeah, I wonder what the connection was with the Egyptians and the cats. You know, there's that old scripture that I think about sometimes in Job that says, you know, go to the animals and they will teach you that, you know, the animals are so much more in tune with the natural cycles of the sun and the moon and the stars that we've just lost the knowledge of. But you know, like you know, if there's a tidal wave or something or a tsunami, how the hell do the animals know to go to higher land before the wave gets there? Meanwhile, you got all these, you know, humans sitting on the beach collecting seashells,
watching the animals leave.
Yeah, but yeah, the Egyptian connection with the cats has always been intriguing to me too. I don't know what that's about, but there's probably something cool and spiritual we can learn from a
yeah. Cats are very spiritual, in my opinion. You know, they have that their purr is registered at like 25 to 150 hertz, very low frequency, and it's known for healing. Its healing properties, tendons, bone density, and it's been even the scientists are willing to say, yeah, nah, cat's purr is good for healing, and which is really not a part of evolution either. But you know, I tried a thing. I was talking to Vikka. I'm gonna throw the story in really quick. I had a shoulder pain through the years. I torn both rotators a few times doing construction. I know the pain, and I had something coming on for 2 or 3 weeks, and the other night I decided to try to act like my cat and hum in a healing vibration with my shoulder. And after 2 or 3 weeks, the next morning I woke up and felt fantastic. The pain was almost gone. I felt sore, but it was, you know, I could still re-injure it if I get twisted up hard enough. I'll re-injure it right away. But if I be careful long enough, I'll be fine real soon. But the pain is gone. So I would love for anyone out there to, if you got some pain, try to do that. Lay still, get in your mind, and hum. Try and concentrate, visualize that vibration going to the area where you need it, and I would love to see if that could work for people, because it worked. I was like freaking out, man. You know, I shoulder pain can last for weeks. You can't use your arm much. You twist it up, it's there, right there again, right back from day one. It's not always fun, but I got such amazing results, you guys. I would love to see some of you try that and have it work.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah,
Man.
Cats were believed to be magical creatures. And,
They are.
Yeah, and
They are.
they were for good luck to to the people who had cats in the house. So, yeah, everybody was happy.
Yeah, and the sound they make, it have a frequency which is very curative. You know,
right.
it's like the vibrations or the frequency it emits is very healing for humans. So yeah, whenever cat does that, it helps, you know, for us to, in a way, you know, to, it's actually curing us, you know. It shows, it in a way tells you that it needs to be cured, something, you know, with those sound vibrations or the frequency that is emitting. Very similar to dolphins. Very similar to dolphins.
Wow. Amazing. Animal kingdom is wild.
Yeah, well, they share the earth with us. They are there for the reason, you know. So they are, in a way, dogs and the cats, in a way, you know, have special relation with the humans.
Yeah, cats always been special to me for a long time. They are remarkable animals, very spiritual, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and they grow very fast.
And they're smart. Like I can almost see my cat thinking and looking and observing and watching what I'm doing at times. I'm like, wow, she's like really checking things out.
Oh
She's
yeah.
just, yeah, she's just so comfortable. Oh, you know what else I heard too? That guys, if you have a cat, they will often try to, if you're stressed, they will often like lay with you and at night and relieve you of the stress that you had during the day. So, sort of that they're able to absorb your stress from you in ways. I'm not sure if there's ways to enhance that or how to get that going, but if it's just a natural thing they'll do. But I've heard that also.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
that's supposed
magical.
to be
They're
the effect from the purring, the
mm,
vibration. It relieves stress
yeah.
to people who actually touch them. Just that's why they have it in they have well they do have cats in old people's homes and just to relax them and
Well, I'll be ready for that. I'll bring cats with me when I go.
Oh yeah. Mentioning about the scrap, like the scrap is often a solar symbol, right? As I mentioned before, and this beetle transforms into a child. When the child cried, his tears became humankind. So the importance of the sun in the creation of the world is like highlighted in different creation myth with the Egyptians that reference to a collective of gods, as Evelyn mentioned before, known as the Heliopolitan. These 9 deities are mentioned in the old kingdoms of the pyramid text, and this myth seems to have originated in the city of Lunu, Heliopolis, meaning the city of the sun in Greek. So the creation of the world begins with a creator god named Atum, just as we see with the Hermopolitan version of the creation. There is chaotic watery states of pre-creation in which Atum resides. Before he is born, so Atum is self-created and arises in the shape of an obelisk, like pillar, in the Heliopolis. He engenders by the means of his own bodily fluid to begin the creation of the world. Like Atum spits out a pair of divine beings, Shu, the god of the air, and Tefnut, his female counterpart, the god of the moisture. Doesn't it sound very similar also with the Norse cosmology of these giants or these deities procreating from itself?
Yeah, it does.
Mm.
It's great.
So Shu and Tefnut in turn produced a second generation of the gods. Their son Gabriel, very similar, is the god of the earth, and his wife, Nat, is the sky goddesses. With the second generation, the Egyptian cosmos comes into the existence and all the elements necessary for the life on earth, the sun, air, moisture, land, and sky, are now in place. So the iconography of Geb and Nut together is like Geb appears as a human male lying on the ground. Arced about him, separated by their father Shu, stretches the figure of his sister wife, Nut, often shown as a nude female whose body is covered in the stars. Like the Egyptians envisioned her arms and legs as the pillar of the sky, and each of her limbs as indicators of the 4 cardinal points. Very interesting.
Yeah, the pillars and the 4 cardinal points are very common.
So,
and the stars in
Common.
the firmament, in the body, in the firmament.
exactly, we are speaking about a closed enclosed system with the 4 cardinal points and the flat land below. So, before the separation by their father, Geb and Nut were able to produce another generations of God: Isis, Osiris, Seth, and Nethris. So, Isis and Osiris in turn produce Horus.
Were they brother and sister?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's like almost how you say, the Isis and Osiris in turn produce Horus. Each king was considered a representative of Horus while he was alive and was then associated with the god Osiris, the king of the dead.
Right. And Horus was a god of good and light.
Yeah. If you notice, they all come in pairs. They're always born in pairs. Osiris and Isis as brother and sister. And then what we know about Cain and Abel, they were also twins, but not with each other, but with a sister also. And Jacob and Esau, they were also twins. And yeah, very many known characters. They were born as twins.
Right. So in addition to their roles in the creation of the cosmos, the members of these gods involved in other cycles of life and rebirth. The sky goddess Nut is believed to give birth to the sun each day. And in some traditions, she also gives birth to the stars. So when observing the night sky, the Egyptians may have noticed that the outer arm of the Milky Way resembled a female form, and identified these celestial features with the goddess's Nut. As a goddess is responsible for the sun's daily rebirth, Nut was also accorded a role in the resurrection of the dead. Like the representation of the Nut on the ceilings of a new kingdom. The royal tomb shows the goddesses with the sun entering her mouth and passing through her star-covered body during the night to be reborn in the morning. She often appears inside the lids of sarcophagus, protecting the deceased until he or she, like the sun god Ra, would be reborn. Simple way of showing what the earth is according to them.
That's the thing, bro. It's kind of simple. It's complex, but it's simple. It's not like the Big Bang Theory with all the crazy stories involved with it.
Yeah, for many it would be myth and fantasy and fairy tales, but it's literally telling you what is the shape of the earth, the closed system, the pillars, the dome, the land, the water, the heavens, the movements of these luminaries, how they are made, the importance of the luminaries. As we see that it connects with the rest of the cosmologies, with the Ra right there too. So they just gave over importance to the Ra and make it heliocentric. These clowns. Yeah, more than 6,000 years ago.
Right.
They're speaking about how their Earth was made.
So for them to have this on record, it makes me wonder how long they knew before that, though, right? They carved it in stone.
Exactly, because each temple was a microcosm of the world, wherein the creation was repeated on a, the entrance, the pylon, the typical temple contained one or more open courts, a hypostyle hall, and the innermost space, the sanctuary. The columns found throughout the temple often had the capitals that are papriform or lodiform in design, echoing the marshy plants that emerged from the primordial mounds. The dark sanctuary or the shrine that housed the image of the temple resident god imitated the mound upon which the creation began. When the priest carried out the morning rituals and opened the god's shrines, they reenacted the very important of the creation. The temple's resident deity took the position of the creator god. Yeah, as we spoke about in other cosmologies, all these amazing structures and temples and all these constructions they have are really a representation of the cosmos or their realm, their universe, and they are trying to reflect it on their important sites. Yeah, there are many other gods. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just amazing how they are stressing all of these points out and throughout all of the cosmologies how important it is. Something going on in the sky. It is fun to just watch the sky. It's beautiful. But there's more to it than that. No, it is beautiful to look up at the night sky, absolutely. But it's more important than just having fun. Vikka, what time is it there? Your roosters are up? They don't sleep either?
They just go they go crazy. They're not mine. They're my neighbors. He has a collection of every kind of chickens and roosters you can imagine.
That's cool.
With peacocks, and they just go haywire at 2, 4. I'm gonna mute it for a few minutes. You guys continue.
Yeah, I actually bought 4 hens a few years ago until one of them started crowing. So I had to give that one away because we live here in a neighborhood. It's all houses. So yeah, it's not I think the only one who actually found it irritating was my husband. I mean, nobody nobody found it irritating.
I don't. My neighbor has chickens. I hear them all the time. I love it. I
Yeah,
really do. It doesn't bother me in the least.
No, it doesn't bother me either. I mean, it was a really
No.
good cook. So, but yeah, he couldn't stay. I mean, otherwise, I think people would have started.
You guys. I gotta post
By the
one of
same.
the. I get some good videos of the coyotes in my backyard. It's just the sound. It's black. There's no real video, but you can hear them. Sometimes it sounds like there's 20 of them coming from 30 different directions.
Wow.
It's really cool, and they sound so close. Like, wow, I walk around back there.
Have you howled back?
I'm sorry.
Have you howled back?
I don't think so. That's funny. I don't drink anymore.
You should try starting up the howling. They'll answer back.
I can hear like a Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
In the back.
Hey, that might be another vibration to help your shoulder. Who knows?
Right.
But going back to that point a few minutes ago about the vibrations, the old world structures that have these massive organs inside of them. There's part of the theory that the musical organs healed the organs that were in the body when they were played. And the stained glass that are allegedly in some of these old buildings now were not there before. And it was almost like they were built as an amplifier. So when something was played from the tabernacle or the church or whatever it actually was, would resonate out over the landscape and allegedly heal people that lived there.
Yeah.
You're right. I have no problem believing that, bro. And some of those stained glass windows can look like the top view down of your DNA strands. Those beautiful circular windows with the designs in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were empty. The stained glass is new, relatively, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to block that sound because when it resonates through that pattern, it goes out in the sky. Absolutely, I got no problem believing that. And you know what, to boot, Keith, I think it was maybe more so than a healing center. I think it might have been just a wellness center, because I think most of these sicknesses we're walking around with right now are directly caused by the air, food, and water, and it's not by any accident.
Right.
They want us to get on that medical.
Sorry. Apparently, in north of England, they were known for the healing waters. We used to call them living water.
That's the Star Fort's job, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah, they're all near water. They're on little islands. They're almost always situated near water, and that's what I have a feeling they would have to purify the water.
Yes, there was a sort of energizing the water.
And not just the star forts, but the entire star cities like Amsterdam and other places. Like the entire city is a star fort, but it's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
With all the canals that people with their horses and carts dug out perfectly.
Right.
The thing is, when you're actually there, you don't see it because it's so big that everything is just canals everywhere, and then a sort of a dry land, and then canal, and then dry, and then canal, and then dry. So that's how you walk across it. But you can only see it when you're looking from high up.
Right.
The shape of it.
Right.
I mean, you can walk there and you don't notice anything. You just see canal after canal after canal after canal.
Right. So you have no clue what you're walking around.
You have no clue what you're walking on.
But then if you had a GoPro or whatever, or a drone, you could or or a plane or something, right? That's just crazy.
Mm.
You know, like the Nazca lines, and we were saying before about how the pyramids actually have 8 sides showing. They didn't even know that till 1940. But these guys knew. And then they blame it on, vandals. It's great.
Yeah, the geometry on those old buildings and the star cities and star forts, it's perfect. I mean, how could somebody without an aerial view create or build something so geometrically perfect on the ground with just a horse? I don't buy any of that.
I don't either.
Oh yeah, that's why I was mentioning about earlier in the podcast about the maths, the order. It's the definition, how we define everything. That's why it's important. So in the legacy of the ancient Egypt, they speak about these 7 universal power given to us humans by these gods. So the first thing, because every power is way of kind of represented with a symbol, I cannot exactly define how is the first symbol with the math, but its principle is order, and the human power is definition, defining. That's why that symmetry and perfection is there in their construction, and that sacred geometry is right there also. The second power, according to them, it's called Heka, which represents, the symbol is a serpent. Its principle is magic, and the human power is creativity. The art, the creativity to create is represented by this, and it's magical, and its symbol is serpent, according to this legacy of the Egyptians for this power. And then there is the next one, which is called Sia. It's for intelligence and knowledge. It's not about education. It's about the intelligence that is important, because the globals have the education, but they don't have that intelligence to separate the wisdom from the indoctrinated education. So we have that power to literally separate that, and that's called Sia in the legacy of the Egyptians. Then you have a diamond shaped form, which is called Hu. It's the sound Hu. It has everything to do with utterance, will, because once you start speaking with the sound, it's your will to do things, the willpower. And the next one is Ma, which is represented by the symbol of eyes, principle, sight, human power, observation. That's why the representation of the third eye, the inner eye, apart from the outer exterior eye, is the inner eye. The same thing which goes to the sound of the Hu. You have the exterior sound, and you have the interior sound, which you also have to listen. And the same thing with the sight. You also have to see the exterior, but you also have to see the interior.
It's like you see with you look with both eyes and you see with one, right?
Yeah, but here it's mentioning that everything have that inner and outer use of everything, that we need to use the exterior and interior, be it sight, be it sound, be it voice, be it magic, be it math, be it so
balance, right? The balance between the two, I guess, is what it's getting
at. Like It's saying literally to use your inner eyes too, apart from your outer eye.
And that's one of the most heavily targeted parts of the human body is the pineal gland, where they say your third eye is. They're calcifying it on us, so we can't use it.
Oh yeah. And the next symbol is the ear. It's called Sejdem, and it's associated with sound. So sound is vibration, and through vibration we could reach different frequencies. And it's really very important to listen, not only from your exterior ear, but also from your inner, like catch this vibration and connect to those frequencies. It's crazy, yeah. It's crazy.
It is. That's why I question the language we're speaking, because they gave it to us, and it's the etymology of most of these words are pretty fascinating. So that they're giving us the wrong vibration to speak through, so we're not even hearing things good. And then they went and changed the frequency of all audio through all media, which is another indication of how important it really is to have that right vibration.
Exactly, and it's very important what you let inside.
Yeah, it is. It's all food.
Oh yeah, it's trying to tell us how to live in this realm.
I think people would mostly live peacefully if these controllers would just get lost.
Certainly.
Yeah, that's why they're bombarding us with all their bullshit all the time, their lies. It's continuously entering us subconsciously. What you let is what becomes. And they know this ancient knowledge, and that's why they manipulate, they indoctrinate it through all these different ways of bombarding symbolically with visions, with sounds, with everything.
Everything, brother. Everything.
And what we have to do as human is what we try to mention before: use your senses in the right way.
Yes, because they keep us separated and scared of each other, and they try to inflict hatred of each other.
Yeah. Over anything.
Over anything, yeah.
Anything. Exactly. So feel the energy, feel the vibe, feel the vibration more than seeing it and judging it, and so it's crazy. Listen to yourself too. It's very important.
Sure is. We were talking recently about how all this indoctrination really teaches us not to trust ourselves, and we don't even know it. But if you can start to look at that and start to see kinks in the armor here, you'll see that the house of cards can really sometimes easily fall apart.
Yeah, I had that conversation with several people the last couple of days, and I think we've shared it on here before that, the reason I don't subscribe to any religious dogma is just all of the religion, especially the ones getting the tax benefits from the lying government.
The separation between church and state.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But they keep you looking outside of yourself for some form of authority. I just asked the question, what if you are the authority for your life and not the government or not your boss or not anybody else? What if you took complete responsibility for your life yourself instead of looking for someone else to do something for you? I mean, that's a very different way to live. But most religions, whether it's Buddhism or any of them, they keep you looking outside of yourself to some other authority other than yourself.
Yeah, it's quite twisted, even in any religion, or even in the Christianity way of seeing it's the information is right there, but it's so twisted and so confused for the people, and they literally get the wrong way of seeing it.
Yeah.
Because in a way,
Sure, it's
rising
diluted.
your Christ inside you, it's the same thing in a way.
It is very, very similar.
So every cosmology or every faith or every religion have all this information right there, but the way it's been twisted and manipulated, that people don't get the right information in the right way, and that the people demonize it or whatever. But it's there in every, if you really dig in, it's there. Everything is there. Whatever we're speaking about in any other cosmology is right there. Even the spiritual part is right there. But it's not easy to see because the way it's been portrayed there, the way they don't want it to see. So when you see it in other cosmologies, you straightly demonize it. But you don't look into your own cosmology and see those same things right there written in a way that you're not getting it.
Yeah, I think part of the goal of governments and the goal of some of the religions, the darker side of it, is to keep people confused. I mean, if you have clarity, you become powerful and creative, and you can do a lot of good for yourself and the world. But if you're confused about where you live, I mean, so much so that you can't even trust your own eyes by looking up at the sun and the moon and seeing they're right there in the same size and same altitude, basically. You can't even trust your own senses that you're not spinning around thousands and millions of miles per hour. I mean, it creates the story of the heliocentric hypothesis creates confusion in everybody, because what they're telling you is, and what they're telling you to believe is absolutely the opposite of what you actually see and feel.
Oh yeah, because the one example I would like to give is, as I mentioned, I don't know if you guys know, as I said in one of our chats that I mentioned, is the way that people interpret the things. Because in Christianity it says that the only way through God is to me, according to the Christ. The Christ said that, right? The only way to God is through me. Through me is in reality through every individual. So nobody's trying to say that you are the God. It's just a wrong interpretation by the people who believe in Jesus, that, oh, you're calling yourself a God. No, you are taking the wrong interpretation. You are thinking that the only way to God is through going through Jesus, but he's speaking about himself and every human being that is created, that it's only through you. It's not anything demonizing. You're not trying to be God. You're not trying to play God. So the same way applies for many things and many spiritual aspects of being a better human, or understanding the life, or living the life in a right way with for the fellow human beings, being secular. It's been under the carpet. Only what is cherry picking to make the more division is being pulled out. So all this truth, all this reality is right there, including in the Bible or any other faith or cosmology or books you want to, whatever. But only the ones who wants to profit with it, they will cherry pick and put it out there in the wrong way.
I'll share one more thing, and kind of my closing thoughts here is that, my parents still subscribe to Christianity 101, just the basic fundamental Christian beliefs. And I grew up in that, came out of it, big time 7 or 8 years ago. But they were recently at an event, and my son went with them to help them and to drive. And this event, it takes place at an extremely famous American Christian property. Someone who has passed away now, but spoke for presidents and did all kinds of meetings in football fields all around the country. And if I said his name, everybody knows who he is. But at his property, there's this prayer room, and you go in, and there's this circular thing that you kneel down and pray at. And in the center of that circle, guess what is there? Take a guess, Gene.
Flat Earth.
No, a globe.
Ah, man.
They're sitting there praying to the Creator while looking and staring at a satanic idea of what the Earth is. Praying and asking for truth and healing and revelation and all this stuff while they're looking at one of the biggest lies in humanity. My son sent me a picture of it. He walked in, he said, "Dad, look," and he texted me a picture. I said, "I'm not surprised."
So we see how easy it is to manipulate the information. We know that the earth is flat. The Bible says that the earth is flat, but they literally take from the same Bible and interpret it in the wrong way, and the people believe it. It's so easy. So imagine other factors, other aspects of their faith or the spirituality that it wants to show us and teach us, but it's not coming to the people in the right way. So it's always in the wrong or lost way, the people, because they want it like that. It's so easy.
There's a saying that people are really not interested in the truth. They're interested in thinking or believing that their beliefs are true or something to that extent. They don't care what the truth is. They just want to think that what they believe is true. And that's where confirmation bias.
They want to be on the right.
Oh yeah. Oh, that could apply for everybody and everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
That's really good. People want to be with the most popular crowd usually. Wow.
Oh yeah. So yeah, guys, we're gonna be taking our last thoughts with everybody, and today we didn't had a break, so big shout out to the people in the chat. Yep. If you're here for the first time, make sure you guys subscribe. And yep, we're gonna have a last thoughts, and we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah, well, it's like I told my brother, it's easy to see all the lies when you know the truth, especially on TV with all the the news and everything that's going on. I mean, yeah, it's very obvious. So just keep on seeing the truth, and so we can keep them all at bay. And hopefully, yeah, we can teach the next generation also, so that they don't fall for the lies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
I'll share one more brief conversation I had yesterday. Maybe that was this morning. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been a long day. Yeah, this morning I had another conversation with one of the guys from the permaculture event, and he came up and said, "Hey, can we talk about flat Earth for a minute?" I said, "Of course, sure." He said, "You know, I'm not into it. I don't really believe it, but I've got a good friend, a childhood friend, and he was one of the smartest kids I knew. He was a genius. He was in all the advanced classes, and he's really into it." And then he asked me some questions. But later on, I thought, it's like, wow, one of your best childhood friends that you claimed as a genius is into flat Earth, but you still don't want to get into it. You still don't buy it. So who's the dummy? Yeah, but people, I don't know. Some of the globe people, globe believers, globe enthusiasts, globe zealots, whatever you want to call them, that I talk to, they absolutely do not understand how stupid they are trying to defend NASA or defend Elon Musk, defend satellites. They have done zero actual research into anything that's real, and they're trying to defend these beliefs that they have, and they have no clue how stupid they sound when they're trying to talk to you about it. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. Vikka, thanks for throwing the show and the party again. Gene, Evelyn, good to be with you guys. I do hope my new friend Garrett can join us the first of the year when we start back, and I think it's a great idea to take a break for a few weeks, Vikka.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Thanks for being here, Keith. Gene.
Yes, brother. Excellent show, bro. This is a lot of fun being here tonight, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And thank you all so much for spending your time with us. I've been getting a lot out of this the past few weeks, especially since we've been consistent with covering the cosmologies and the importance of them. It's fascinating. It really is. The Egyptians are a great one. They're probably the biggest in pop culture, I would imagine. 4,500 years, guys, and they lined them up to stars that I think they knew were never going to move. I just realized that tonight, hanging out with you guys, that's what they knew. And that tells us that we're not moving, and the stars are not going to shift position ever in any kind of big way that's going to be significant, at least. So yeah, we touched on a bunch of stuff tonight. So guys, try to use your discernment and your clarity when you're looking at these things, and spot the spot the differences in the real pictures and the NASA Photoshop stuff that they're offering to us. And trust yourself when you do realize something that you've been lied to is not true. Understand that moment in time with yourself and your inner self, and how you came to that realization through the lies that you've been taught by all these important people through your lives, and you identify with that moment in time with yourself, and you'll understand how to trust yourself better and more, and you develop relationship with yourself, and that can only help you with the relationships outside yourself. And keep in mind, guys, they really, they made us dependent on this system in so many ways, many ways, that it's tough. We really got our hands full. Whatever part of this truth system we're breaking out of, the lie system we're breaking out into the truth, wherever you are, stay strong. You're doing well. And thanks again. Vikka, thanks for the show too, brother. Thanks, Keith and Evelyn, for being here too. I know you guys have off times, and we really all appreciate everybody that gets together and has it in them to come on and do live shows. Not easy. You never know what's going to happen. And I've been having a great time this past year with you, brother. And a little break is going to be nice. We'll recharge and we'll refresh. We'll come back like nobody's business. It's going to be awesome. So I hope everybody has a great holiday with your family and friends, and Happy New Year to everybody. And I'm going to miss you guys. All right. We'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. Thank you, Gene. Thank you for being here. And Gene and Evelyn, after we end the show, could you both please hang out a bit after the show? I wanted to give some updates. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so thanks, Keith, for being here too, and thanks everybody. We all saw that Egyptian cosmology is no different than any other flat Earth cosmology, be it any other one, as we discussed before, and the ones we're going to be discussing in the future. The Ra is very important also in the Egyptian cosmology, and it's the one that it moves, The sun is the giver of life, The sun is very important. Everything moves around this, like everything, the cycle moves because of the movement of the sun. And the Ra is very important. And in all other cosmologies too, the sun has been very important. And also, if we could speak about the Bible, in a way of representation of the sun of the God, there is a connection right there too. So thank you everybody for being here. I'm gonna mention it again. For the next few weeks, we're gonna be taking a break. Our next podcast is gonna be in the first week of January 2023. So have amazing festive days with your family, friends. You celebrate Christmas, New Year, Three Kings, whatever you celebrate in this time of the year, or the rebirth of the sun, whatever you want to call it. Happy, have a good time with your family, friends, neighbors, community. Yeah, and definitely we're gonna see us in a few weeks back with all the potential energy back for these amazing discussions and podcast that we are really enjoying. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody in the chat. And thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Ellen, Keith.
Thank you, brother.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
And this
Good night,
is
everybody.
Vikka Draziv signing out from Heliopsychosis podcast. See you guys next week. Bye, guys. Oh, few weeks. See you in a few weeks. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.